Welcome to another podcast recorded at the Rockwell Foundation Berlin, where I'm talking to some of the economists who are creating the next edition of the Handbook of Labor Economics. My name is Tim Phillips. Will AI replace jobs or improve them? Often we worry that a new technology will put us all out of work. But then we are told it has created whole new areas of employment instead. Daron Acemoglu is one of the authors of the Handbook chapter that deals with the impact of AI in the workplace. I asked him whether perhaps this time we should be worried.
I would give a somewhat more nuanced account of the history you're referring to. I wouldn't say that every time new technologies have created more jobs. I would say that we should really look at the effects of technologies, both on jobs and inequality. And there have been episodes in which new technologies have destroyed jobs and have pushed down the wages of workers that were at the crosshairs of automation, such as during the early phases of the British Industrial Revolution. And there have been other periods in which technology has been used for generating new tasks, new jobs, new good jobs. And I think this is not just slightly more nuanced, but it's a very important point that there is nothing automatic about technology creating better pay, new opportunities. It is how we use technology. It's also about the trajectory of development of new technologies.
But isn't technological progress somehow inevitable? Should we try to guide it or stand in its way? Is that even possible?
Yes, in some sense, technological change is inevitable in that humans are going to tinker, come up with new ways of doing things, new ideas, new scientific methods. And this also underscores that technological change and scientific progress are evolutionary processes. They are bottom up. So indeed, it's going to be very difficult if you wanted to control science. If you had a template and said it has to follow this template, that's not going to work. But it doesn't mean you cannot guide it. All human activity responds to incentives and it responds to problems that are different and motivating. So the question is, what sort of problems are motivating the new frontiers of science and especially artificial intelligence? And what sort of incentives are we giving to scientists, entrepreneurs, business people in order to develop and apply this knowledge? And I think there are many, many choices. There's a huge menu. And in the past, actually, if you look at what the US government, especially the Department of Defense and some of the agencies have done successfully, it wasn't dictating what the science should be, but it was guiding it by providing incentives or new aspirations to people about, say, going to the moon or better antibiotics or better sensors. So I think the same can be done in the realm of artificial intelligence.
Now, the last couple of years, you have been thinking about how to guide the progress that is represented by the introduction of AI into the workplace. One of the things that you want to do is to see reform in the tax code so that, as you put it, people and software are treated equally. Well, what's the flaw? What's the problem that needs to be solved in the current tax regime?
Well, this is a controversial topic. Let me preface it with that. Economists for a long time have been on the side of very low or zero taxation of capital. But this has ignored a major implication of capital and labor tax asymmetry, which is that if you tax labor much more heavily than the equipment that is competing with labor, then you're going to create an additional incentive for automation. You're going to create a reason for firms to sideline labor and use machines or software in its place. And I think in an age where we are worried about automation, both taking jobs and also not creating enough demand for labor so that we generate good jobs for workers with diverse skills, I think this asymmetry is becoming more and more costly. So a tax code that treats labor and capital symmetrically would have many benefits. And I think chief among them would be affecting how we use technology and how we develop technology.
One of the other ideas that you have is that workers should have more of a voice in how AI is deployed in the workplace. But what we're seeing at the moment is AI being pervasive in the workplace extremely quickly. Is this a practical idea?
Yeah, I think it is a practical idea, actually, because the applications of AI that we are focusing on here is in the production process. And it's going to be used by workers. Sometimes it's going to replace workers, but most of the time it's going to be used with workers, alongside workers, or by workers. So it is natural that workers should also have a say about what would work and what wouldn't work. They have expertise. They have contextual knowledge about how their days and their production activities are organized. And also there's a power imbalance here. It's already the case that managers have too much say over what workers do, and AI is going to intensify that. So giving workers some voice would create a range of benefits. And we know how it can be done. For example, the WGA Hollywood strike was essentially about that, and WGA got its way. So at the end, the Writers Guild, the Directors Guild didn't say, we are against AI. We just want workers to have a say about when they should use AI, and they should be in control of using it, and they should have some protection for their creative data. I think those are the kinds of principles that we can apply more broadly in the economy.
The impression I often get is that even in advanced economies, governments, policymakers seem to be one step behind the tech companies, playing catch up, and that allows big tech to almost set the agenda here. Am I right? Is there anything that government can do to enhance its expertise in this area?
Well, of course, the government can greatly enhance its expertise, and it's doing so. There is a tremendous amount of effort in the European Union and now in the US for lawmakers and their staffers to understand the technology. And I think the government needs to hire better people and put more resources here. To be frank, I think all governments essentially fell asleep at the wheel when it came to technology regulation, not just AI regulation, technology regulation. There was almost no technology regulation, even though new digital technologies impacted every aspect of our lives over the last 30 years. So the government needs to build regulatory muscle, and it's one of the very important countervailing forces against a very powerful tech industry. Worker voice, civil society, non-governmental organization voice, and government regulation.
And can governments go beyond that as well and seek to guide the investments in applications of AI, make those investments itself perhaps, to make AI more complementary to humans, more worker-focused?
Well, let me first say that I do not think bureaucrats becoming innovators is an attractive path. It doesn't work.
Okay.
And I'm not supportive of that. However, my work over the last several decades has always emphasized that there are two complementary but distinct phases of technology. One is the use of technology once the basic inventions have been made, and the second is the choice of the direction of technological progress. Now, some people might think you don't want to interfere in the latter, but perhaps worker voice or perhaps government regulation could impact the former. But in general, it turns out that the two are complementary. So you wouldn't want just let technology go in one direction and then in the use phase pull it back. So you want to have a congruent development of technology's direction and how it's used. And both of those are things in which society should have a say, because inequality is going to affect democracy, and there is no guarantee that the market process will necessarily give us the best outcome. So the government should have some impact on both the use of technology and the direction of technological progress. And one example you see for that that's worked out not amazingly successfully, but semi-successfully, is the energy sector. Today, we wouldn't be where we are, which is not great, but not too bad in terms of renewables, if European, American, and Chinese governments did not massively support the development of renewables. Just encouraging firms to use solar energy would not have been enough unless the direction of technology changed as well.
Now, a lot of the work that you have been doing in the past few years and the work that you're doing with Pascal for the handbook are looking at the possible scenarios for how AI is applied. So look on the bright side, first of all. If we do this well as a society, what are the good outcomes? What's possible here?
There is no mystery that new technologies, if used well, expand our capabilities and have the potential to make all of us, or at least a significant fraction of us, significantly better off. We can be more comfortable, healthier, more prosperous. There's also no big disagreement that current generation of AI technologies are pretty impressive. They are doing things that many people thought impossible. So if we can steer them in the right direction, there are important benefits. But I think it's very critical that we have a conversation about what is feasible and socially desirable about the direction of AI technology. And I argue that there is a feasible and socially desirable pro-human, pro-worker direction of AI, meaning that we can use AI to make workers more productive, to generate new tasks for them, to make us better as citizens, as active participants in the democratic and information exchange process. And in all of this, emphasizing human agency and developing technologies that amplifies and further enables that human agency is critical. In the production process, creating new tasks, giving better information to workers. In our social lives, enabling us to make better, more informed choices with less manipulation. Unfortunately, that's not the direction we're going.
Yes, what is the dystopian version of this? What happens if we don't do it well?
I think the dystopian one is unfortunately where we're going. Because if you look at the tech industry, it emphasizes automation, it emphasizes boundless data collection, it emphasizes manipulation through ads and other types of means. It also has a very elitist hierarchical vision where tech elites are very enlightened and know how to bring a better future, and most people shouldn't interfere. And all of those push us not towards that pro-human direction. They silence that human agency. So that's what I'm worried about.
Good luck in making sure that conversation is had and that the policymakers are listening. Daron, thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim. It's great talking to you.
Thanks for listening. The Rockwell Foundation Berlin Institute for the Economy and the Future of Work is providing new knowledge to inform public debate and to create the best possible basis for policy making. Find out more at rfberlin.com.